This is a slide I recently put together, the Complete Communicator. And it's a little bit about the transformation arc from building a voice you can trust to becoming the communicator your capability deserves. They're numbered, and they're kind of make sense, the number, but they're not absolute. But the first three are absolute. We gain technical vocal mastery. As we do that, we gain confidence, but not a fake confidence, an earned confidence. And then as we do that, our identity starts to shift, and we have to deal with that so that we open ourselves up to that identity shift. Now, all of you who have been with me for a while know those three steps. You're working on them. 4 is overcoming pitfalls, and 5 is body language. Now, when people come to me, those first 5 are why they're coming to me. And everybody gets what they came for. We get through those 5, absolutely. And I put the rest of this together because there's so much more to being a communicator. There is this concept of when I'm going to speak, what's my pregame ritual? And if we don't have a pregame ritual, we should. How do I prepare to do a presentation? Do I just walk in haphazardly, or do I have a plan? And do I know what that plan is? So the pregame ritual, what do we do? So I'm going to share that. We'll do that one of the sessions. And then the thing we want to do in number 7 is understand there's all kinds of types of speaking. So some people say, oh, well, I want to be a speaker and I'm never going to read from a speech. And I say, well, reading a written speech is a type of speaking. And if you think about the President's State of the Union address, regardless of what president it is, every year they do the State of the Union. They're reading a speech. They're not walking up in front of the whole world and winging it. They've got a written speech, they've practiced it, and it's there for them. But none of them look like they're reading it. And that's a skill in and of itself. Now, if you watch some of my videos, the longer videos especially, it doesn't look like I'm reading, but I got that speech on my monitor, and I got a little teleprompter going, and I'm reading the content because I want to make sure if I'm making a video that I'm sharing the exact thing I want to share. So reading is a type of speaking, and it's something we want to get good at. But there's all kinds of others too. Memorizing, impromptu, just on the fly. There's a speaking where we're sharing information and teaching. There's a speaking where we're being persuasive. There's all kinds of different types of speaking. And we want to recognize all of those different things and get good at them all. Being on video and connecting with people through the video is a unique kind of thing. And it's different than being in a room with people and connecting with people in a room. All these things are different, and we want to embrace all of them, learn them, understand what's good in each one, and how to connect with people through them. A lot of people, when they are thinking about signing up with me, they ask, can I learn how to do this through video lessons? And I say, absolutely. And everybody learns through video lessons. I don't have to be one-on-one in a room with somebody to help them. But some people maybe don't have the ability to do that. So they just do lessons in person because they struggle otherwise. But we want to get good at all those types of speaking. Now, number 8 is voice in the sentence. So when we think about this one, I'm going to read it. How to build a single idea so it lands. And then I give you the answer, context, feature, benefit. And I talk about breath as a separator, pace that matches the structure, every phrase driven all the way to the end. That last part is some people will talk, and then when they get to the end, they go like this, and you can't hear what they're saying. And so the sentence loses its ability. But this concept of voice in a sentence, there's this thing of, see, I'm giving a lot of times when we're talking, And all of us are professionals. We're all working in the professional world. So we're doing presentations, and a lot of our time, our presentations are on details, features of things that we're delivering. One of the things that I have learned is that every time you talk about a feature, if you talk about the feature as a standalone thing, you will not be as successful as if you talk about the feature directly followed by the benefit. So if I talk about a new feature, let's pick a computer thing. Hey, we put a new feature in so that the user can now click this button and such will happen. Okay, that's a new feature. Great. But if I say, hey, now we put in this new feature, it's this new button here where you can click and these things happen. And the reason we did that is because now this person doesn't have to ever leave this screen and they get everything they want and need without going anywhere. So their life is so much simpler. See, now I added a benefit to that feature. If I do that when I'm crafting my sentences in my presentation, then I am creating sentences that people can hold on to and that people can connect to. If I give them just a feature in their mind, not necessarily their conscious mind, but in their subconscious mind, they'll be thinking, so what? But if I give them a feature and a benefit, now that means something. So I said, hey, in this chart, the first five, everybody comes for the first five. Well, what's the benefit? And I focus on those five so that everybody gets what they came for. That's the benefit. Those first five are really important. They're features. I'm going to make sure you have vocal mastery, earn confidence, identity shift, overcome pitfalls, and body language. Okay, those are features, but what's the value of that? So that you get what you came for. So you're going to go out into the world able to live differently because you got these features. So it isn't just those features, it's the benefit of them. Voice in a sentence, I can teach you. Context, feature, benefit. Okay, that's the feature of voice in a sentence. But what's the value? So that people can hold on to and grasp and understand and feel what you're teaching them in that sentence. So that they're staying with you, so that they're appreciating that you're speaking. That's the benefit. So just learning the technical skill isn't enough. Me just saying, oh, here's a thing, voice in a sentence. Here's the feature of it. Okay, that's no good. What's the benefit of it? Those two go together, feature, benefit in a sentence, and all of a sudden, people can be drawn into what you're saying, and you can guide them, which takes us to number 9, the presentation as a guide and experience. Now, you don't have to raise your hand to this because I suspect every one of you will raise your hand, but don't do it. How many of you have given a presentation that was just information? When we give a presentation that's just information, how many people realize that nobody's that excited as they're sitting there listening? What we want to do, this is the complete communicator. This is a transformation arc. This is where we can get to. And by staying engaged in these sessions, like as a, for instance, Sai was a graduate from much earlier, and Sai got 1 through 5, but by staying in these sessions, now he's seeing all these other things and able to continue to grow as a speaker. This is what we want. So the presentation as a guided experience. Now, why does that come after number 8? Because I want to be able in my sentences to give featured benefits. If I can do that, then the presentation as a guided experience becomes possible. I can, when I do a presentation, say I have, now, Ken, I'm going to give Ken a compliment. Ken is working on a case study is that for an interview, Ken, coming up this week? Yeah, beautiful. He's already passed through the first interview, right, Ken? Yeah. So, guys, he thinks he's really struggling. He's doing great. Ken, you're doing great. So he showed me this case study. Now, this is really important. When we are talking, a lot of you come and say, oh, well, English isn't my first language. I want to get better at words, or I want to get rid of my accent. And I say those things don't matter as much as you think. What matters is when we're speaking, do people feel like we care about what we're saying? Do we infuse what we're saying with the emotions that we have in our heart? Not fake emotions, but do we care about what we're saying, and can people tell by how we're saying it? Now, when Ken showed me how he was doing his case study, I was sitting there, I was thinking, man, this is great. And at the end, he said, how'd I do? And I said, I felt like this was you talking about what you love. That's the feeling I had when he was done. He was sharing me this case study, and there's information in there, but all the information he shared was shared in a way where you could feel that he really loves this stuff. He was involved in it. He did the decision making, and you could tell that this was something that he cared deeply about. And Ken, if you do that in your interview, it doesn't mean they'll hire you, but it means you've done your part. And that's fantastic. That's what we're aiming for in those first 5 things. When I have technical vocal mastery and confidence on any shift, overcoming pitfalls in body language, I have reached a point where I can share something on my inside with the rest of the world through the words that I'm saying and the emotions I'm infusing in those words. So with Ken, could he change this word or that? Sure. Would it matter? Nope, because the emotion he has in there is so good. That's what people will feel. So it isn't just about, do I get every word right? It's more about, are people really hearing me? And this number 9, presentation as a guided experience, has something to do with that. You're not a reporter delivering data. See, when he did the case study for me, it could have been very dry. Here's what happened. Just reporting the data. But it wasn't that. You're a guy taking people somewhere. You manage cognitive load, open and close every section, and let the audience reset between ideas. So in the case study, he's going through his slides, and after each slide, you got to give people a chance to breathe. And then you have to open up that next slide. And when we're done with that slide, we have to close out that slide so people feel like they are going on a journey. But it's not a journey like from here to here, and they're going to be exhausted by the end. But it's a journey of here to here. Oh, I like that. And then from here to here. Oh, I like that. And then from here to here. Oh, I like that. And now I'm going on a journey that I can relax into all the way through from start to finish. And when I'm done, I'm not tired. I'm like, that didn't seem like much time at all. What else do you got for me? So this number 9 is this concept of the presentation as a guided experience. Now, we can't do that without 1 through 5. We can't do that without 8. So they all build on each other. That's why I call it the transformation arc. We're building toward more and more and more as we go. And then number 10 is facilitation. You know, one of the things that causes people to struggle in a presentation is they think they're the presenter only. But when you're presenting, not only are you the presenter, but you're also the facilitator of your presentation. So one of the things you want to do is recognize, for instance, I'm presenting this slide to you guys, but I'm also the facilitator of your guys' cognitive load. So I presented 1 through 5. and then I let that be, and then I went on to 6, and then I let that be, and then I went on to 7, and so I'm facilitating our walk through this slide. And as I facilitate, then I go into a box and then I present. And after I'm done presenting, then I facilitate our move to the next section. So I know in my head, I'm not just the presenter. I know I'm the presenter and I'm the facilitator. And I'm facilitating the cognitive load of my listeners as I go. So facilitation is its own skill set. You're not just presenting anymore, you're managing the audience's experience of receiving the content. Transition language, redirection, warm authority, all of it working together. So facilitation is a skill in and of itself. I had a little mini product for a number of these things. So facilitation is a skill in and of itself. And as we learn that, see, we want to be great communicators. We want to be complete communicators. So we learn how to use our voice. That's true. We do. And we do the identity shift. So we're great communicators. That's true. We do. We get rid of pitfalls. That's true. We have good body language. That's true. But if I want to be a complete communicator, I keep growing into these things. And when I can then add voice in a sentence, and when I can add presentation as a getting experience, when I can add facilitation, man, I'm really becoming a complete communicator. Now, I could talk for 2 hours and nobody would think it was 2 hours. Because throughout that 2 hours, I keep giving people opportunities to rest and to move to the next thing. And I know if I do that, they could listen to me all day long. Now, if we go past 10 to 11 human stories, so now we're going even more. So now I say, data tells, stories connect. Another way that's said is data tells, stories sell. Now, every one of you is a salesperson. You don't have to be in sales to sell. Ken's selling himself in every interview. Aaron's selling himself as this level person because he wants to go here. Same thing. Ellen, you're selling yourself in interviews. And Vivian, you're selling ideas all the time. We're all selling. So when we think about selling for human stories, data tells, stories connect, or stories sell. A complete communicator knows how to find the human being on the other end of every technical point and bring them into the room. So when we're presenting, we want to infuse the stories with human touch. Now think about what I'm doing here. How many stories have I already included? I've used Ken's story as a case study. Story in presenting. We asked him, how's it going? He started with a story about his presenting. I'm using human stories to connect these things into what it means to us. The notion of human stories, data tells, stories sell. We're all salespeople. And I talked about how we're selling in an interview. We're selling to people that are above us, that control whether we can move up. We're selling ideas to people, whatever it is. As a complete communicator, I know that sometimes I'm selling. Sometimes I'm not. Sometimes I'm just sharing information. But when I'm sharing information, I got to sell the information and its meaning. And when I'm selling the meaning of the information, I can feature benefit it. But what if I can feature benefit it and then tell a little human story that gives an example of it? It's another way that makes that message land with our listener. And it's a way that they can never forget it. So these human stories, now one of the problems I have always had in human stories is when I learned Storytelling, I learned it from people who wanted me to tell a Hollywood story. Like I had to have a villain and I had to have all this stuff going on. And there's like 13 or 27 phases I had to go through. And I'm like, I can't tell a story that long as I'm talking because people will get bored. They didn't come to a movie. So when I talk about learning how to tell stories, I talk about very quick, simple stories. The simplest one I like to say is, well, what was this person's life before this feature? Give the feature benefit, and then show what this person's life is like now. How did their life improve? That's the simplest story. So, and notice I brought voice in a sentence in there, feature benefit in there. So if I'm telling in a presentation about a new feature, and I had mentioned the benefit of this person and how their life was better, I would start that story like this. Well, when a user, John's a big user, when John sits down at this screen before we added this new feature and he wanted this information, he had to literally stop his work on this screen and he had to go to this other screen. He had to log in. He had to do these things. He had to get this information. And then when he's done with that, he had to come back here and remember where he's at. And that context switching always costs us time and money. And so he got back. So he didn't like that. And he was very frustrated. There's an emotion to a human story. He's very frustrated. But John, he's the one that suggested this new feature. It was a great idea. So we put this new feature in, and now a user, when they need that information, they just click this button and that information is right there at their fingertips. They don't have to go anywhere. And now think about John. John isn't frustrated anymore. He doesn't have to go to this other screen. He has no context switching. He can keep working, and his life is so much better because of this change. See, now that's a human story added into this story that we're telling about the feature and benefit. This is how we become better, more complete communicators. Because everyone we're talking to is a human. And so if we tell a human story, they connect with that. They can learn the feature in their head, they can hear the benefit in their head, but the human story hits them here. And so they can now connect with what we're saying to them. And then the last one I have on here is the connected consultation. When your role requires moving someone from information to decision, you know how to open the human conversation first, connect every finding to their needs, and then extend an invitation, not force a close. So this connected consultation concept is a form of speaking. Sometimes it's our job to convince some other human being of something. Maybe we're going in and this team, and my team are all going in and we are all seeking the same budget dollars and they're only going to give it to one. Well, I better be pretty good at the connected consultation if I'm going to make my case and get the budget money coming to me. It's not that I want to make the others look bad. It's not that I don't like those people, but everybody's job is to come in and make their case. And then someone will make a decision about who gets funding and the others don't. That's fine. There's nothing bad about that. It's the way we challenge ourselves and challenge ideas to make sure that we're doing the work that's most important. So it's a good thing. So how do we learn to be persuasive in a right way? That's a part of being a complete communicator. And all of that section, number 12, is built on the things above it. Because if I can't communicate voice in a sentence with the feature benefit concept, if I can't guide my listeners through the experience of what I'm saying, if I can't facilitate their cognitive load as I'm going, and if I don't include human stories, they're not going to choose mine. So all of these, all 11 of these show up in number 12. So these aren't in absolute order, but they're in a kind of an order. And notice the pregame ritual comes before number 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, because before we do any type of speaking, which includes all the stuff in that right-hand column, what's my pregame ritual to get started? So that from my first word forward, I'm presenting what I need to present. Now, as I'm talking to you, do you make note of the pitch, pace, tone, melody, volume, modulation as I'm talking? Like I just said, the question of how do I know from the first word forward? Right, that's volume. That's definitely monotone, because angry sound is monotone. And that's meant to be a little angry, a little excited. The pace is way slower, right? But then as soon as I was done with that, I said, from the first word forward, that everybody knows what you're talking about is connected with you right away. So all of those changes are modulating so that nothing is ever monotone. We can have monotone pitch. We can have monotone pace. If I talk at the same pace the whole time, no matter what I'm saying, people will ultimately get tired of listening to me. Pitch, pace, tone. If I'm always in the same tone, and sometimes I'm not a little airier, and sometimes I'm not a little edgier, people will get tired of listening. Melody. I got to have melody in my sound, but I can't have the same melody. I can't talk like this and then say the next sentence and then say the next sentence and then say the next sentence and have the same melody with every sentence, because that will drive people crazy. And volume, moving volume, and chest, middle, head voice. I always use my head voice as I'm talking from time to time to accent what I'm doing. Because if I'm in my chest voice the whole time, that will bore people. And the emotional centers, buoyancy, radiancy, potency. I'm moving through those. Like the from the first word forward is potency. But not all the things I'm doing is potency. Some are radiancy and some are buoyancy. So as the complete communicator, we're taking all these skills, breathing, pitch, pace, tone, melody, volume, chest, middle, head, buoyancy, radiancy, potency. That's 12 skills. We're taking those 12 skills and building technical vocal mastery, earn confidence, identity shift. We're getting rid of pitfalls. How many filler words have I said? And we're including body language. We got to know how to make sure from the start we're good. And then I'm taking into account all of these things in the right-hand column to share the message. So this is where we're going as great communicators, as complete communicators. I want to be able to share with people in a way that they like to hear what I'm saying and they want to hear more.